Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So this is the Primary Arms 1X Compact Prism Scope, and you can see it's been frozen for a few days. I gotta figure out how I can use this again. I've had it for about a year now, but now it's in ice. So the only thing I can think of is maybe this can help. Let's find out. All right, so about 70 yards away from the block of ice, you got the GoPro set up right over there, and the block of ice right there. So one round through the Mossford 500 bird shot. Let's see what happens. I don't think it made it through. Let's take a look. All right, walking up to her now. And you can see it definitely cracked it and fractured it enough where I can probably just chip it out of there. So let's bring it back to the table. Take a look. So I had to let her sit out in the sun for a little bit because there was just ice in every little nook and cranny. I had to let her kind of dry out for a bit so we can actually use her again, put her back on the rifle, see if she's sighted in. But of course, everything looks great. I mean, there's not even any scratches or anything like that. Even the caps survived. They're just kind of dirty. So the shock from the bird shot just kind of shook up the ice, cracked it a little bit. And even though it shook this up, at least it does appear to be working just fine, and it's gonna be hard to tell on camera. I don't even know if I can get it to, if you guys can see it at all, but let me see if I can get you guys to see this. Let's see. I don't know if you guys can tell. No, probably not. There you go, a little bit of red there. This is not a very bright optic, honestly. And then the thing about it is, though, it is etched on glass. So that is one of the big selling points of these scopes right here, is because they are designed to be kind of the next level up from a red dot. All right, you usually have a fuzzy kind of red dot sometimes, especially if you have an astigmatism or something like that. Where this, though, you have a little adjustment right here that can be turned left or right. All right, it's nice and stiff right now, but there you go. It can be turned to left or right, and this allows for your adjustment for astigmatism, all right? So if you do have something where if you're looking at a red dot and there's a flare off, like a star pattern almost, that is because you have an astigmatism on a red dot. And with this, you might have the etched glass on here, but when you turn it on, it might be a little fuzzy, but when you go ahead and you adjust this point here, you can kind of tweak it to your particular eye, which is very good. And honestly, I don't even tend to turn on the red indicator light almost ever. I mean, that black reticle is nice and bright and there's no real issues at all with it, so I can't really complain there. But let's go ahead and slap this back on the rifle. It looks to be running just fine. I had it zeroed in for about 25 yards on this particular rifle right here. Let's go ahead and put it back on, put a bunch of rounds through it, see how she held up. So we're back here at the 25-yard mark here with the Cyclops. Now, if you guys haven't known anything about these, I've had this for about a year now, but in that time frame, even from when they first came out a couple of years back, these things have been put through the ringer by so many reviewers. I personally have never frozen mine and then kind of see if it stayed on after hitting it with birdshot, but these things have been down scuba diving, they've been at the bottom of a lake, they've been shot at. These are just indestructible, and like I said, with that etched reticle, I really do believe you should just get one of these. Don't even bother with the red dot when you're running something for your AR. I mean, red dots are great for like PCC, for pistols, things like that, but when you get to like an AR, there's just so much capability with this ACSS Reticle, with the Primary Arms Cyclops, and it's just an incredible scope for the value you pay for it. All right, so let's go ahead and put 20 rounds through it. Again, 25 yards, we're aiming at the left paper target. Let's kind of see, just offhand standing, just kind of see where we're at, see if it still is on paper, and then we'll go hit some more long range and talk about the reticle a little bit more. All right, 20 rounds. Let's go take a look. Standing at 25 yards after being frozen and shot at with birdshot, I'll take it, guys. Let's go ahead, hit some of those longer ranges. So like I mentioned, we've had this scope in for about 12 months now, and we really have put it through the ringer. I've done a lot of close work with it for some CQB close-up training on paper targets, and then we also went out to 100, 200, and 300 yards with this reticle. It is an abbreviated ACSS reticle, and that really does allow you to reach those distances. However, there's a limitation because it is a 1-power scope. So depending on your eyesight, you may not be able to use it much past 100 or 200 yards, but it does allow you to use it. And we'll talk about that reticle in a minute. But of course, as you saw, we blasted it with birdshot to break it out of ice, and it has been frozen in that ice block for about 3 days prior to blasting it, and it's held its own. No issues at all, and we've had a great time testing it, and I really kind of see the need for it because with a red dot, it's not super fine detailed, right? So the red dot, you have some kind of flare offs on the side of the dot itself sometimes. It's a little bit harder to make those accurate long distance shots, but with the ACSS reticle, you have this chevron with a nice pointed tip, and as well as a horseshoe CQB, kind of like a half circle design above the chevron that kind of allows you to get those close range target shots and get on target fairly quickly. And I do see that that definitely is a major plus with this 1-power Prism scope. On my left is the Primary Arms 50,000 hour battery red dot sight. All right, this is a very famous push button red dot, very affordable, very rugged and reliable. And on the left here is the Primary Arms Cyclops. Of course, you can see pretty much undamaged from that birdshot. Minor, of course, little scuffs maybe on the actual covers, but that's fine. But you can see that this is about twice the size as the red dot, as well as almost twice the weight. All right, so, but of course the positive there is you get a lot more with this sight and with this ACSS abbreviated reticle than you do with just the red dot. So let's talk about the features and design of this Primary Arms 1-power Cyclops scope. It does come with flip-up caps here, and as far as flip-up caps go, they are fairly well suited for the job. I mean, they're nothing too special, but overall I do like to take these off because it does cover up some of the key features to the sight itself, and they pop off just like that fairly easily, no issues there. But what it does cover is a nice front beveled piece right here, and then on the rear is the adjustment right here for your eyes. Now I'll show you, it is a little stiff, but it cranks out nice and far, so depending on your eye, see that, it will allow you to kind of really hone in and focus on what your eye sees and make this reticle a little bit less blurry for you. If it is blurry at all, if you do have some kind of astigmatism or kind of blurry vision or something, you might be able to have the astigmatism helped by adjusting this knob right here. So going over here, so that's the back right there. Kind of moving up here is your adjustment knob. All right, so you have 0 to 11, just typical kind of adjustment. And like I said earlier, you don't really need to have that actual power on feature because of that reticle, which you can see against the pavement here. Right there. I got the camera to focus on the reticle. You can kind of see right now we are at power 11. All right, let's go to 0. So there's the black. See, there's not, I don't think there's much of a difference. I mean, you can illuminate it, it's fine. But in the daylight, because it is a black reticle, this will work for most of your targets you're trying to shoot at. But you can kind of see, go up a little bit, 1, 2, 3, kind of a hint of red. And it starts really getting a little brighter. And then at max, you can see it's not as bright as a typical red dot, but it is plenty bright in the daylight, which is good. So a lot of people do complain that it might not be bright enough, but again, I just don't see the need for the illumination as much. Kind of similar to the other Primary Arm scopes. It just seems like you don't really need it with that nice etched on glass reticle right there. Underneath this cap right here is your battery compartment, as well as a spare battery. Nice touch by Primary Arms to include that. I cranked it down nice and tight, so that's not coming off without any kind of a coin or a spent case kind of brass tip there, but it is in there. And then up here is your elevation and windage adjustments right here. Just twist off like so, revealing a typical knob right here with the markings. All right, and then it is a tethered system. The tether is kind of a weak wire. It's nothing fancy, but so you could remove it if you don't like it. If it gets in the way, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of gets snagged sometimes depending on what you're doing with it. But it is a nice feature to have these tethered at the front there. That way you have no chance of actually losing it, but you can kind of see it does kind of snag sometimes. You got to kind of work it to get this to tighten back down, but it is not too bad. All right, there you go. Pack 1X primary arms. Over here you have the ACSS Cyclops emblem right there, kind of starting to fade a little bit. Again, we've been shooting this quite a bit for the last year, but from the beginning it's not super bright or anything, which is good. Nothing too crazy there. And there is your front right here. There is some threads on here, which I can only assume they do have some kind of a honeycomb piece that goes in there. I've never really used them that much before, but it is good for anti-glare. The mount right here is one of the standard micro red dot mounts, so a lot of different mounts can be used with this Cyclops. So this one came with it. You don't have to use it though. A lot of different sights can actually be mounted. A lot of different sight mounts can be mounted right to the Cyclops like this, and that's good because this one is okay. It's a twist knob. You do need to Loctite it. I did find out early on that this comes loose while shooting if you don't Loctite it, so something to note for you guys. It does have a little crush washer in there, but it is good to Loctite this knob down to the threads, and that way you don't have to worry about this coming loose at all during shooting. And actually about 12 months ago when I first got it, that's exactly what happened. It kind of got loose a little bit. So thread it before you actually go out and shoot it, and you'll do just fine. So let's talk about this reticle real quick. All right, so I've talked a lot about this abbreviated ACSS reticle, and you've probably seen a ton of reviews on the ACSS reticle, and of course the longer range scopes that Primary Arms has and has developed can be anywhere from this abbreviated version all the way up to much more technical options for ranging, as well as different types of features that might not be included on this one. But this is perfect for a 1X scope, being the fact that you don't really have the ability to reach out farther than your eyesight can help you along to kind of see those targets that far out. But as I said, you have a CQB horseshoe close quarters battle horseshoe right there. You have a chevron tip in the middle there, and then you have your ranging on the bottom. So the ranging on the bottom is based on a auto ranger for an 18-inch torso, all right, and that's like the shoulder width, 18 inches. You can kind of see there that its average height is 5'10", so you place your target as a human-sized target, feet on the bottom, and you can kind of tell, depending on where their shoulders are, that is the range they're at. So you can see it's at 200, 300, or 400 yards. So it does have the capability of reaching out to 400 in terms of seeing how your kind of body mass is at that distance out there. But again, it's going to be hard to kind of see that far out with this sight, but it is a nice touch there to have that ranging capability. Even the outer edges of the CQB horseshoe are designed for functionality. So you actually can hold on a target walking an average pace of 3.1 miles per hour. Either they're going left to right or right to left. But if you hold on the side of that horseshoe, you'll be able to actually make impacts in kind of a fast-paced scenario if you had to. Now, the cool part about the chevron tip itself is it does have some functionality to it. So you would want to sight your rifle into at about 100 yards at the tip of the chevron, and that in turn will allow you to hit targets when you line them up on the bottom of the chevron at 200 yards. And that is just something nice, I think, that works out pretty well. So that is what you can do, 100 yards at the tip, and then on the bottom will be adjusted to 200 yards once you have that 100-yard mark at the tip. One last thing to note, guys, this Cyclops only has about a 3,000 hour battery life, which doesn't seem like a lot compared to a 50,000 hour red dot sight. But 3,000 hours, you're not going to plan on using this in terms of just leaving it on, because you don't have to. The illumination is there as just kind of a helpful feature, but again, that black reticle is just etched on glass. I really don't think you really need to have any kind of light behind it, and if you're in a dark scenario with a regular flashlight, the reticle is going to show up just fine using just your flashlight, whereas the red dot, it's great to have 50,000 hours because there's nothing there if it's not turned on. So again, one more kind of step in the right direction with the Cyclops, a little bit kind of edging up over a red dot sight once again. If you're interested at all in picking up the Cyclops or the Primary Arms red dot sight with a 50,000 hour battery, both of these have proven great. I'll go ahead and put links down in the description as well as the comments, so check them both out. And I don't think there's anything else I can tell you guys about these. I mean, the Cyclops is just proven time and time again. There's a bunch of different reviews out there, including my own, just blasting with a shotgun, like I said, scuba diving, throwing it at a lake. It's just a very impressive sight for the money, and it's really not that much money compared to a red dot sight. It really isn't, for the features you get and that ACSS reticle that is already on here. So thanks for watching, guys. Again, links down below. If you have any questions at all, hit them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them.
Go ahead and follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook. I put all the latest and greatest deals on the internet over on Facebook now. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I'll see you in the next review.